Hey there, Boots Owen here. This is a White Knight Eco 43A gas tumble dryer. It's I don't know, easily 10 years old. I wonder if I'll find a date looking on it inside. I might find a date. I bought it about a year ago, broken, on the basis that I have a similar one like this. It was 30 quid and this one might do for spares, just because it was for sale locally. The guy said it was broken and he didn't know what was wrong with it. It had stopped working. He told me it had broken previously and the repair was to replace these solenoids. If that's true or not, I don't really know. 3-pin solenoid for the gas control. You replace both of them, but typically one's broken, so he gave me the solenoids in case I could use one of them. So he thought it might be the solenoids again, but he'd kind of gotten fed up with it for whatever reason. So today I've taken some of it apart and we'll have a look at it. It's a bit interesting. So the first fault seems to be a motor issue. So I didn't bother connecting it to gas. I thought I'd have a look inside and see if it needed vacuuming out. For a tumble dryer, it's relatively clean. There's a bit of fluff on that capacitor there, a filter, mains filter. But if you look at the drum here, it's got this snot on it, and I thought that looks like soot, from improper combustion of gas or something. And then it's got this fellow here. Well, that looks like an explosion of sorts. Now that, on the top, there's nothing burnt, but on the bottom, that's around where the motor is. So if we come in the back from below, on wobbly cam, let's have a look at that. So with the machine over on its front, I can get a look at the back, and I've taken off a rear panel here to inspect it and removed some of the ductwork. There's clearly the smoke issue there. I've rotated the drum just by coincidence to that position. There's no tensioner on this motor, it's just a motor, and I thought the capacitor down there might have blown. It's an 8 microfarad capacitor. Well, it doesn't look like that. It looks like the wiring on the side of the motor has gone on fire. If we can see here. So I'm going to pull the motor, I think, and have a look, because that's just bizarre. I think I just pull it out from below with a couple of screws and flick it out, basically. We'll have a look. But before I take the motor out, I'm going to show you what I did earlier on that made me think the capacitor was blown. It's set to 20 minutes. Press start. It won't start until you turn it. It won't start until you turn it, which sounds like capacitor. Seems to be running just fine. Now there could be other things going on down there and I didn't look. And I didn't want to run it too long to see, because it does have a bit of a kind of an ozone-y motory smell. So I think what might have happened is that where the wires are burnt, something's just broken down in the insulation or that. And, well, we'll look at it on the bench. So first of all, I need to cut a cable tie. I am aware that there's a capacitor at the tip of my fingers that I haven't shorted yet, so I'm not going to touch that. I'll touch it with this pliers here. Let's short out that capacitor, hopefully. Now, there's a connector here, pink to black, and then there's 2 wires on the capacitor, brown and yellow. Let's just remove them, although that should be the other way around, because I need to remove the capacitor. Comes out with the motor. Silly. Let's pull this belt off like that. Just park it up on top or below. It's going to annoy me later. Right, now if I pull these out, the motor should just lift up and come out, I think. Although there is a housing here, so does that... There's some kind of a button there. There's a black plastic button, like a pin, and that seems to stop this fellow in here turning, if we have a look. So down the back here, there's a plastic piece of ductwork that just turns and lifts out, just like that. It's actually a really good design, that. Bit of dust in there. I'll vacuum all that up now. Now we're up on the bench, so let's have a look at this thing here. We've got an 8, if we can see it there somewhere, 8 microfarad capacitor, and on the motor, if I spin it around, underneath here you'll be able to see perhaps BOMYDZ. You can't really see it. BOMYDZ. Doesn't want to focus there. It's got a long number. I'll read it out. 150S42515-01. Broad Ocean Zhongshan Broad Ocean Motor Co Limited. 230 volt, 50 hertz, 0.9 of an amp, so quite a small motor. And it's got a wiring diagram. Black is COM, brown is, it says man. I don't know if we can see that. That's better. It says black is COM, so I'd call that negative. Brown is man, and yellow is the capacitor. So what are we going to do here? The wiring is damaged up here. So the wiring is damaged up there, and it seems that it's something that's definitely gone on fire, but I'm hoping, like, I don't think it's burnt the motor windings. So what I'm going to do is chop it off and get in, hopefully. There's a thermal fuse down on this side under my thumb here. That seems okay, so I don't really know where we're coming up against it here, or why. But the wires are all bound in here, so it looks like the fire is just in the wires, and I can clamp that up again with some cable ties. What I'm going to do is chop off the binding wires, the binding ropes there, just see what we can expose of the cables going in. Now, it would be easier to take it all apart, but, well, it would be easier to work on it if I took it all apart. That's what I'm trying to say there. I don't know if I really want to do that. This is kind of an autopsy, kind of a repair, maybe you might say. Until, like, because it is working, and I think it's just some damaged insulation, and what I'm hoping is I can just rebuild the cables from a point where they're good. And that might be naive, but that's what I'm working on. Looks like a bit of heat shrink there. Have to chop that off with a knife. Without wrecking the insulation beneath. And then that gets wrapped up in some fiberglass by the looks of it, and then bound in. So I'm going to cut those off without wrecking everything. Okay, I'll start up here where they're all bound up in resin as well. So if I don't pull too hard, it might be okay. Now that one's gone on fire. I wonder if I had a little brush to give that a scrub. That might help. Oh yeah, there's a lot of insulation burnt away down there. Right. Presumably the motor windings are still sound if it hasn't gone back yet. There we are. Okay. So where does this go? Alright, we've got a loop there going into something. I don't know, I'm not as optimistic anymore. Maybe I am. Yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of damage. Oh, there's a wire. Okay, so the capacitor wire is completely burnt out. I'm presuming that's the capacitor wire there is completely burnt out. There's a wire going to the end of one of the windings, which... Ooh, could we test it? I guess we could. Multimeter, where are you? So let's look for... which one was capacitor? Yellow was capacitor for the start, so I'm presuming this one will be yellow, but that's just a guess. Nope. That's yellow, so brown is that one. Yeah, it's no good. Yeah, there's wires burnt out in that motor. So it really does. It either needs a rewind or a new motor. So the negative just goes on. It's okay. They're common. Quite a few loose ends of windings in there. I can count a few. Put it that way. Now it may be that it would still start, but I don't know. I don't know, is that a run capacitor or a start capacitor? It's probably a run capacitor because, I don't know, it doesn't turn off. Although there might be a switch up above on a circuit board, so that's not great. So I'm going to need a new motor for this, I guess. So what I could do for now is take the tumble dryer motor out of the other one and check that the rest of the machine works. That might be the way to go. So I've refitted the motor from the other machine, which was working, The capacitor looks a bit shmooey. It looks like it's got a bit of a dribble coming out of it. But I'm going to leave it as it is for now and see if it works, because I might as well. Hopefully it will. I'll refit this back panel and the ductwork, and I'll turn it up and plug it in. I'm only going to put in 3 screws because I have a feeling I'm going to take this motor out and put it back in the other machine. Maybe 4 screws. I might as well do them all. Okay, the machine is live again. Let's try start. That's more like it. Now it should start sparking. Maybe it needs to feel gas, I don't know. Don't hear anything, but it might need gas pressure before it'll even pretend to ignite. So let's get it plumbed in for gas. Right, so we're on. The knob is a bit twisted here. There seems to be a click around there, which I wonder is something to do with the gas coming on. Let's turn it off to there. That's the start. Okay, there's nothing there, so let's bring it up. No, we better bring it beyond that clunk. Start. The gas is on. Power's on. It's turning. And after a while we should get ignition here. It should go tick 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 tick. We haven't heard. Oh, there it is. Oh, it looks like we're working. Let's have a look down below then. So the light's on, so the flame should be detected. And it's in here somewhere. It was on that side before actually, so I don't know if this is fitted the wrong way around. Let's take that cover off. So whoever fitted that cover fitted it the wrong way around, but there you can see inside there's the flames burning. Now because there's no laundry in it, this will probably stop after a fashion, because it'll detect that it's just getting too hot without any damp in it. Looks like a success, so I'm going to put a load of laundry in it and we'll see if it burns it out. So just after 2 minutes there, straight off the bat, it started working. Let's give it to 60, 70, 80. 80 is what I'd normally do. Start it up again. Clattering away. Laundry's in there and it should start to ignite now. There it is. So what I will do with this machine is take it outside once I've done this load of laundry, maybe tomorrow when it's bright, and put a shot of compressed air all through everything to blow any dust out of it. But it looks like this was a success and worth buying. A new motor you can get for about 20 quid on eBay. I just need to keep an eye out for it. I say new, second hand. I have a motor in I think an Indesit or Hot Point or something out in the garden. It might fit, I don't know. I'll have to take a look. But for now, it seems like a success. So then, I should say, if you're not a member of the channel already, think about becoming a member. It helps the channel. Or just like and subscribe and post a comment below. It's going to do its contra-rotation. Not contra-rotation. It's going to reverse direction now. There you go. And there's no flame on the reverse direction, and then it'll go the other way and start again. So if you're not a member, not a subscriber, haven't given me a thumbs up, hit those buttons now. I'd appreciate it. And I'd also appreciate a comment below if you think people shouldn't be working on gas. Because I haven't been working on gas today. I've been working on an electric motor. It is a gas appliance. I guess these things are all up in the air. And it's also arguable as to what country I might be in. Can you smell gas? Is it dangerous? Oh, we're off again. Tick, tick, tick. So, time's moved on and I've ordered in the post this fellow. It's another one of these motors, but it's slightly different. It's got some kind of a centrifugal contactor, I think, in here. I'll show it to you. And I was a real fool. I put it on the bench, put the wires into the multi-block, or the safety block, to energize it. And of course, the inertia jumped it across the bench, off the bench, and onto the floor, smashing the fan. Luckily, however, I have the fan from the old motor, so I was able to save the day. But before we look at it, let's just have a closer look at this old motor. I've taken it apart. Yeah, I smashed this fellow as well, but that was just silliness. Silliness, you know. I get into these things. So the old motor here, I've taken it apart so we can see it a bit better. Maybe. It's really burnt out down here. Let's get a bit more light on it. So a quick look here. This is the old motor. And you can see there, it's just completely burnt out. Like it's lost. I've kind of folded them up, the little copper tips there, it really cooked it, and the fact that I was able to get it to work at all is quite bizarre, you know. You can see there's the two wires coming in, only one of them's attached to something, and I guess that's where it was getting some power from when I was turning it, but it wasn't a capacitor fault because I tried the capacitor on the other White Knight and it worked just fine there. So I think the thermal fuse is also okay. It must be because it's going through this wire, which, yeah, there you go. Right, so let's have a look at this one. This one only has two wires, and I don't know if it has a capacitor in here or what. It's another induction motor, but if I put power into these two wires, it's a bit stiff actually. What's going on there? Let's start it up again and just show you. It has a click whenever you turn it off. Now I put blue into as neutral, which, you know, to me makes sense. And orange is live, but it's an internally wired thing in a... Oh, it's come off again. And back there. So it should start. That's running pretty sweet actually. Now when I turn it off, this fellow here, those are probably all live, they're clearly live connectors on it. So when I turn it off, there's a clunk in there, and that makes me think there's some kind of centrifugal something, but yeah, there's a different ring in the back there with a dust shield on it, different to the old motor. So let's try and install this. There's 3 wires going to the old, well, the motor that came out of the machine. There's 2 wires going to this, so we'll try and figure it out. So here's the motor installed and screwed in from below. It's a bit of a tight fit, but it went in. What I've got here, I've got an orange wire that was on the old motor with a plastic clip on the end, and then I've got a brown and yellow. And this one, the new old motor, has an orange one with a plastic on the end, so I can kind of guess that that's what that'll be. But as for the other one, I don't know. So orange goes on the bottom. Ow! Right. What would you do? I would put yellow on it. And then we better put something on that one to keep it safe. The wires are under a bit of tension there, so I think I'd better deal with that. So we'll test it first like that, and then we'll sort out the wiring in a minute. I should probably put the belt on just to see, so I'll deal with that as well. So the belt is on. Let's give it 20 minutes. It'll try to ignite, but there's no gas on it at the moment, so let's press start. No, we're not getting anything out of that. No, let's stop that and try the other wire. So instead of yellow now, I've got brown where I had yellow before. Let's try closing the door again and doing start. Well, we're off. Okay, good. That was easy. Now, I wonder what happens when it tries to reverse direction. Possibly nothing. Now, it should try to ignite it here in a minute. You can see the fluttering of debris in there, which shows me that the fan's working pretty well. I just have to stand here like a lemon waiting for this to start. I don't know, does it run for like 5 minutes in one direction and then 30 seconds in the other? It could be that it just reverses the polarity of the cables. I don't know. I really don't know on this one. It also hasn't attempted to ignite that I've heard it, so I don't know what that could be from. Oh. So now it's stopped. And normally it would try and go the other way, but I guess it isn't. And typically at that point it would stop. And then it's going back that way, so it won't do the reverse action. So this could prove to be a silly idea, but I've taped the yellow and the brown together up there on the basis that it might rotate the same way through the counter rotate cycle, or it might blow up the control board. There's only one way to find out. Like, I could consult the wiring diagram and whatnot, but let's not do that. Now the machine is live. Doors shut. Yeah, I think it might be okay then. So let's see what happens when it gets to counter rotate again. This will take another 5 minutes of my life. So the question is, what happens whenever it reaches the point where it wants to counter rotate? I imagine it'll just go the same way again. So I think whatever control board is on it in the timer puts the energy through one or other wire. It puts it through one wire for 5 minutes and the other wire for the 10 seconds or whatever it counter rotates for. My worry is that by having it idle for whatever length of time, 10 or 15 seconds, is that it'll trip the thermal trip because it's too hot with no air blowing over it. I don't know if that's true or not. It might not matter because the fan's blowing the wrong way anyway at that point in time. It's kind of blowing the air backwards, but it won't, because that's not how that kind of fan works, I think. So in this case, we're just waiting to see if it would stop, clunk, try to go the other way, but presumably keeps going clockwise as we're looking at it now. Just have to wait. Which way will it go, if at all? Yeah, so it's going right. Now it should do that for a few seconds. And then it should turn to the right again. So that's what I've done there, just clipping those two wires together. That answers that question. Right, I can put it back together now. I don't like the way I've done it. I've just cable tied the wires together, one piggybacked on the other, but I'll write that on the machine and leave the gas hose off it, so it's kind of a spares machine that's almost fully working. So there we go. What more can I say about this fellow? Nothing really. It's working again somewhat. It doesn't really matter. The one in there is the one that I use and I have used from the start, and then I've got the other, whatever it was, the British Gas one, the blue decal one, and I've been using it for the last year. So I've got one working, I've got a backup, and then this really is a backup for spares, but I'd rather have things working than not working. It's weird how that motor went on fire. It must have overheated, but not overheated the thermal fuse, which is just bizarre. But that's how these things go. The wires were all a bit cooked. The two incoming wires to the motor, they were a bit cooked, which is a bit weird. Before I put this away, I was thinking I might try and change it over to LPG just for funsies. So it says natural gas, and it says it's got an injector of 1.32. If you look online, there's no information about changing these to LPG, and somebody in some forum, when you Google it, years ago when Crossley existed, they phoned Crossley and Crossley said, no, you can't do that. I don't believe that for a second. I think if you change the jet down, it'll be okay. The jet for butane and propane, or LPG, is 0.85 mil. I think you just need to get another jet. I found that from looking at one of these, but an LPG version that was for sale on eBay, and the photos were good enough to deduce the back plate. It's not written anywhere on the internet. So if I can get the jet out of this and put a 0.85 in, now that I've got the whole thing back together again, which is a bit of a pain, maybe that's the way to go. I think I'd have to take the front off it. I don't think I'd have to take out the motor or anything, so top off, front off. Might be another adventure to go on, but it won't be in this video. But there you go. If you have found this enjoyable, this video, or if you're into this kind of thing, you might think about liking the video, giving it a thumbs up, or subscribing. I'd appreciate it. You can become a member of the channel if you want to give me some money. Support the channel that way. I'd appreciate that too. Or you can drop us a PayPal or a super thanks. But I'd really appreciate it if you'd leave a comment telling me how I shouldn't be dealing with the gas appliance, even though I'm a grown-up and I haven't plugged it in, so I can kind of do whatever I want. But there you go. What do you think? Tell me in the comments below. Thanks for watching. See you later.